Welcome, Internet Capitalists, to the third interview of our interview series. And we're very excited today to have James with us. James is the founder of Mode Network, formerly the CEO of Hype. Basically, he's led Mode in about 8 or 9 months to about 450 million TVL, 60 to 70 apps, and hundreds of integrations. James, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to chat.
A little bit different. One of the things I'm interested in always is asking these crypto founders how they got started. I mean, we're in the very beginning of this industry. So, what led you from whatever you did before college, whatever, to becoming the founder of one of the leading blockchains?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked in fintech in London initially. I founded a couple fintech startups that eventually got me into crypto. Um, I was around 2016, 2017. I started to get really interested in Ethereum and the Ethereum community, started going to events, started learning a lot more about the ecosystem. And uh, yeah, I just found it really exciting that Ethereum was this kind of blank slate, right? I was really interested in different types of financial applications, and yeah, I couldn't believe like how cool like decentralized applications could be or could become. Um, so yeah, I was very much focused on Ethereum and very much focused on DeFi in the early days. I was one of the first people I think to be using protocols like Compound and DYDX and running different strategies there. Um, I kind of was very active during DeFi summer. I set up a consultancy, um, and I worked with DeFi founders on their go to market. Then I like merged the consultancy with Hype. Um, and yeah, Hype was the largest agency at the time. So we merged my consultancy in Hype. Um, and yeah, the founder of Hype had another startup he exited. So yeah, I took over there for a while and helped grow it to around 150 people. And worked with a load of protocols in the space. So we worked with kind of, I think, like 20 or 30% of the top 100 crypto protocols. Um, Really working on like ecosystem growth, like running hackathons, running, yeah, lots of community driven activities, trying to really help them like think about how they can build out their ecosystem, how they can build like a robust, sustainable ecosystem. And yeah, that kind of led me to speaking with the Optimism team, learning lot more about Optimism's vision, and I essentially was pitching them to build, like, try and build out more innovative DeFi. They had some really cool apps, um, and yeah, I asked Optimism team like, "Are you going to support even more applications in DeFi?" And they said, "Well, this is a couple years ago now." They said, "Well, actually, we have this bigger vision for the Superchain, where chains will be specialized on uh, certain aspects um, or certain verticals." I said, "Okay, well, who's building the DeFi chain?" And they said, "Well, actually, it's pretty open right now. So if it's something you're interested in, then you should go ahead and do that." So yeah, I got a team together and we started building out Mode just over a year ago. I think like 13 months ago. We launched a test net. Then we launched mainnet January 31st. Um, and yeah, it's been a wild ride since then.
So Ben, actually, I still remember this, was the one that sent me a message that maybe it was a tweet that basically said Mo Network launching, and he says we have to do this. You have to do this. So Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit. Do you remember that, Ben, and how that all went down?
Yeah. So I would say I was early on to Ethereum L2s because whenever I got into crypto, the Ethereum mainnet was too expensive for me. I was in college and I deposited the compound and I couldn't get my ETH out because the gas fee was more than my deposit. So I started going on L2s. Optimism became like my L2 home. So I was in the ecosystem for a while. I was using a bunch of protocols on optimism and was really ingrained with the ecosystem. And then I saw this kind of OP Stack roadmap, the Superchain pop up. Then you guys were the DeFi chain, and from the very beginning, I could see that you had like a very interesting growth strategy. And this, you guys really hit like the points meta, the points wave right at its peak. And it was really interesting to me. So I was like, we have to get on here. It's very easy from Optimism. They're working closely with the team. And that's how I discovered you guys. And I do want to commend you on kind of your launch strategy. And I know that's your background, but that's really what drew me in. And yeah, so that was really interesting to me. And the one thing that I was going to ask is that, like, how did you formulate this launch strategy, and where did you get the idea for kind of this points meta? Because I know like Blast was doing a similar thing in other ecosystems. Like, where did this idea come together, and how did you think about it?
Yeah, so the idea was very much focused around like the philosophy that you can kind of quantify on-chain actions and give a reward, right? So you can reward people for growing the network. And I think this is like the toughest thing for an ecosystem, right? You have limited resources. You need to figure out where to put those resources. But it's very hard to essentially reward people effectively in crypto. It's like, DAOs, we have all these different funding mechanisms and none of them are perfect. We have retro funding from Optimism, which is awesome, which is a retroactive take. And we wanted to take like a proactive take. We want to say, if you provide liquidity, you will get this, and therefore in the future you will get this, right? And yeah, points became pretty popular after Manta and Blast ran these programs. And we were like, okay, we can kind of take this to the next level by applying points to almost like every transaction that takes place. So if you make a transaction, you earn points. If you supply liquidity, you earn points. And yeah, we focused in on that. It was, it ended up being a pretty complex task to basically index every single transaction. We built up our own databases. And yeah, we're doing a huge amount of like analysis on the data to make sure everyone's getting the right points. It was a pretty mammoth task. But yeah, it definitely helped this bootstrapping, this initial, like us get through this initial bootstrapping period really, really quickly. And I think, yeah, our launch timing was really like pretty good because the market was very focused on L2s being the future. And DeFi narrative was also beginning to kind of push forward. It was getting like DeFi narrative struggled over the last couple of years, but this was like a nice time, the beginning of the year with Athena launching and lots of other cool protocols. So yeah, that was kind of the launch strategy, and like the general philosophy was, can we reward people for their contribution to network growth, and what would that look like, right, for a DeFi ecosystem? And now we've like basically seen that we did reward people effectively. However, the reward was the mode token. And, when we launched the mode token, the market wasn't necessarily good. It was, definitely in a downtrend. So we saw like significant sell pressure. So I think, I still think we got the distribution mechanism like pretty accurate, but in the market conditions, it probably wasn't. Actually, I think it is what it is, but like, yeah, there could have been different strategies and different ways we thought about like the mode token, which is what we've been working on. And we started building out a new governance structure for this. So we're excited for this part of the journey too.
So one thing that struck me, and I mean, I'm really a new user here, but your interface, the website was, I thought, very modern, professionally done. And then the other part was, it seemed like you had a curated group of initial applications, and you brought more on you had a plan, I guess is what it seemed like. Was that part of the strategy in the beginning? Or did that just happen as people saw Mo, contacted you about becoming part of it?
Yeah, so we ran a test net. Um, we ran a number of hackathons. We ran like two hackathons. We found teams like kind of in all ways possible. The Ionic team, really great builders. The Kim team, really great builders. They were the earliest protocols. Like when you think of a DeFi ecosystem, you need a lending protocol, you need a DEX, right? You need like these two foundational protocols. And yeah, we work closely with them to get their applications up and running. And yeah, it was crazy when we launched. We literally had like 4 applications. You know, we wanted to have 20, but that just isn't how it goes. And you also need to have like core infrastructure like oracles. We work with Pith. They're a really awesome partner to help us get going on oracles. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was kind of a blur the first couple months, but we just like really tried to grind as much as possible, and speak to as many builders as possible. And yeah, kind of bring them into the ecosystem and support them as much as we could. And that's really like been our pitch. Like if you're building DeFi, we will really go like above and beyond to support you building out your protocol.
So you sort of mentioned this a little bit about how fast you grew and, you know, grinding it out. How big are you guys now? And it seems like you're worldwide. I mean, I was talking with Adam and just coordinating the timing and all things like that is crazy. So you have to manage a worldwide team now?
Yeah, to be honest, the team isn't that big. I think we're like 18 people, um, which is like a good size. Um, yeah, like we have so much more we want to do, so we'll probably look to expand a little bit. But right now, the team is a good size. Like, um, I feel like operationally, like things are really sound. And yeah, managing everyone is yeah. I mean, we have people in different time zones, but that's crypto, right? It's 24/7. So I think actually it's beneficial. Like Hype is a fully remote organization. I think there's like over 100 people there. So yeah, I've kind of always worked in that environment. And I think also that's very typical of crypto, right? That um, people are working around the world, and yeah, you kind of have to hop on calls at midnight sometimes. That's how it is.
Yeah, gotcha. Um, so you this doesn't seem like it's your first startup, but what's the thing going in that you thought, oh, this is going to be taken care of, no big deal, that you've had to spend way more time on than you envisioned?
Um, I think kind of like I was a founder before, and um, I had a startup. It was called Heidi. It was an automated savings app. So basically, took spare like if you spent $1.50, it would like take 50 cents and it would put it into savings. It had like all these kind of little automations, right? So it was done through SMS, and it connected to your bank. We used like banking APIs we built. Um, this was one of the first like real startups I built out. And I was with like three other co-founders. So there were four of us. So it was pretty intense, but I felt like we had a lot of support. We also had like quite a lot of like heated discussions. And like we kind of lived together for a while. It was like very intense, but it was like very I mean, you definitely didn't feel like lonely at all. You were like always, you know, working together, which was cool. I think the difference this time around is, yeah, mode is definitely like a kind of bigger mission and a bigger goal. And it's definitely more intense being a crypto founder. And also like, yeah, being a kind of solo founder. Like I have an awesome like team. But yeah, initially, yeah, founding it by myself was cool. Um, but yeah, it was definitely very different, and there's a lot more pressure. Um, and yeah, I think like people who are looking to become a crypto founder, like they 100% should do it because it's awesome. But yeah, you know, like it's pretty hard work, and it's often like pretty high stress. There's a lot of like tough decisions to be made quite consistently. Um, so yeah, it's definitely different from the previous fintech startup I built.
You know, on the website, you have somewhere around 100,000 users, 100,000 wallets. How do you balance essentially what amounts to customer service on a Discord with the technology side of, money's an important thing to everybody, so you have to balance this technical aspect and making sure 100,000 people aren't mad at you for some crazy little thing. What does your time get split up into that, or does your team handle that, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, we have a pretty awesome community team. So we actually recently did what we called a community hard fork. So essentially, we have created two other community groups called Super Chads and Giga Chads. And basically, we have Discord, which is customer service. Anyone can go on there and ask a question, and moderators support will reply to you and try and help you out. And then for people who have staked mode, there's two different amounts of mode you have to stake to get into the Super Chat and Giga Chat group. Basically, you get like direct access to the team. So maybe this is for like whales or people who, are kind of more interested to be really like close to the community. We're often like, the team is in there every day, chatting to people. So that's how we've kind of tried to like, I guess, separate like the signal from the noise, because Discord, I mean, I think I don't know how many people we have in Discord, but it's probably like, maybe around 50,000. But yeah, Discord is pretty messy. I mean, I used it for a few years now and I still can't get my head around it. How to manage notifications effectively for all the different channels you're in. It can be tough. So I think like so far we've seen pretty promising progress with these two new groups. And I think we're going to continue trying to push those as much as possible for people that want the extra support.
And that's how I came across Adam. Just by chance, he had the special color. I clicked on it. He was the BD guy, and you can talk to them directly, or talk to you directly, which is nice. So I think that's a great way to go. So Ben, before we jump into the AI stuff, do you have any other questions? Because I've got a whole list of geeky tech AI things here to get into.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I'll start it off if you're good with that, but I'm really excited to look forward and think about the future because you guys have a lot going on and a lot of plans, as you mentioned. So first, I'd like you to go over like your staking for Mode and what the future of Mode's governance looks like, because I know you have plans with that. Then after that, just at a big picture, what is Mode's vision for AI, and then we can dive into the details from there. So those two things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like the way that we're building out Mode governance is focused around a VE model. And the VE model essentially gets people to lock or to stake their Mode tokens, and then they can vote where emissions go. So they can vote for emissions to certain applications. And the idea is that this creates like a positive flywheel. As more people vote, the emissions go where they want them to go. They earn more Mode, they can get more votes. And that's how it works. So that's like our focus. We've been working on building this out with Aragon. And we've seen the VE model be used like across DeFi with a lot of success, but we've never seen it being applied to an L2, like this ecosystem layer. And a lot of the decisions we've made so far with Mode have been taking like interesting things we've seen work on certain applications and trying to apply it like across the ecosystem. So we have like a perps trading competition. Instead of like it just being on one perps dex, we have like the perps trading competition live across all perps dexes on Mode. So we're super excited for this to launch. And we don't have an exact date. because the build out has been pretty complex, and yeah, we need multiple audits and things like that. So it's taking a bit of time, but yeah, we're super excited for it to launch.
Yeah, I've seen, I mean, obviously with like Velodrome and Aerodrome, you've seen the VE model be able to bootstrap liquidity and really work for both the users and the protocol. So that's an interesting experiment and really excited about that. So we'll be paying close attention. But yeah, that's awesome. So then second up, just paint the picture, the vision for AI-Fi, because this was really cool. And this is another thing you guys are doing, which I haven't seen anywhere else.
Yeah, so we've kind of been like trying to think about how, like what's next, like what's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year vision for Mode, and like where is DeFi going? And like some L2s are betting on it being like this mix of CeFi DeFi. Some L2s are betting on it being like more on real world assets or like asset issuance. Some L2s are betting on it being like completely mobile. And we are very much betting on it being driven, like we're very much betting on AI being the new interface for DeFi. So I think like agents right now are kind of having this Cambrian explosion where like we're starting to see agents, like the terminology like agents being used now across like all areas of tech, right? You can get an agent to do this, an agent to do that. And essentially an agent is just like a piece of like code, right? It's just a piece of software that can essentially do automation in a fairly like autonomous way. It can do some certain tasks. And yeah, we've kind of seen like early experiments from a lot of like our partners. And, I've made thousands and thousands of on-chain transactions. A lot of it can be automated. But like it's difficult. And we kind of have started to see like, a lot of interesting strategies now get developed, which can be deployed by agents and run autonomously. Powered by AI for like different types of decision making, to add context, to add various like other elements to to I guess running strategies on chain. So we're very much betting that like AI is almost going to be this new interface for DeFi. Like I'm not going to go to Kim or Ionic on Mode and go into the protocol. I'm going to get an agent to run a USDC strategy for me to earn me yield. So yeah, we also are looking at like governance agents who will vote for you or manage your positions. Maybe they'll like be able to manage bribes, things like this. It's kind of like, for me, the most exciting thing happening right now in DeFi. And I'm confident that on-chain agents are going to replace like a huge amount of transaction volume, because it just makes sense that this is kind of how it goes. I think another kind of thing to add here is that when it comes to like on-chain AI or like a fully autonomous agent, like what does that mean? Because we're definitely not there yet, right? We're not at the point where AI can run on chain. You can use like ZKML models, and there are, I'd say, like various ways you can run models and you can start to use that data on chain. But like we can't have a completely autonomous agent, just making transactions on a user's behalf. Like it's that's still a little bit far away. Probably like 6 to 12 months, but we're definitely getting there. And we've seen like really, really cool stuff being deployed by like OLAS with their prediction market agent. They also have Baby Degen, which is a trading market bot. We're working closely with Giza team on agents, so people will be able to build their own agents for Mode. And we've got a couple products we're building which are like agent powered vaults. So essentially you can deposit into a vault and the agent will run like a variety of strategies. But yeah, I think like the cool thing right now is that we're seeing the first set of these strategies emerge, and over time we're going to see AI become like a much bigger part of running those strategies, and that's when it gets really exciting because yeah, uh, the complexity will become significant, and yeah, the I think the outcome, like the efficiency for running on chain strategies, will be huge.
So I want to start with where we are now and just start diving into that. So this whole idea of abstracting away, me going to Ionic and clicking buttons to do my strategy into an agent. Um, I think that's great. I think that will onboard many more people that are interested in crypto, but don't want to learn how to do that. But the fundamental question I have is, how do you know, what sort of sensitivity analysis have you done to know that the agent, the AI, is working within the bounds of its knowledge? Because you don't have control over what the user is asking it. The user will say, hey, do whatever, and you can't model all those things, but yet the agent has to come back with either has to ask questions if it's confused or come back with a not crazy strategy. So talk a little bit about how you're modeling that, how you're determining that.
Absolutely. So you have to start with like pretty strict limitations. Um, and so that could be, yeah, only being able to run like a few different types of strategies, right? So it could be a stable coin strategy um, across like a lending protocol and DEX. And it would basically be managing the assets between these two places based on where the best yield is. You might even look at like predictive analysis. Can it predict where the better yield is going to be? Um, so that's like the very basic. I think actually the best way to think about this is if you take uni v3 position, like managing an LP position, and we think about like in the most simplistic, the most simplistic form of this is just moving liquidity around, right? So that your liquidity doesn't go out of range. Um, that's like a kind of stage one, and that's not AI right now. It could be, but it's that's just a automated liquidity manager. The next kind of stage would be can it move liquidity around based on certain triggers, and can it optimize a yield based on the amount of volume that's coming through the pool? That's a bit harder. Uh, then it could be like, can you manage liquidity based on predictive price movements of ETH/USDC? And that's like very complex. And yeah, you can kind of model that or spend, a huge amount of time and take every trade that's ever been done in that pool and look to model that out. And that's when it gets really exciting because these are the tools that, the top market makers use, and soon they're going to be available for every single person.
So definitely a step-by-step approach. You're essentially not going to let the agents get outside what you've set them up to do, what they've been trained for, or whatever you want to say.
Exactly. To start with. And also like, with crypto, it's slightly different to building building just like a web app, right? Like if something goes wrong, the web app might break. But with an on-chain agent, if you give it capital and it makes a mistake, then the capital could be gone forever, right? So you have to put up these guardrails and slowly take them away.
That makes a lot of sense to me. The next question that comes to my mind, at least when talking about this, is have you thought about agent to agent interactions, like any potential there, or how do you see the future with multiple AI agents interacting with each other? And how do you model this or think about this in general?
Yeah, so I think there are going to be like a lot of agent to agent interactions in the future. Um, I think that, yeah, the way we're thinking about it right now is very much focused on strategies, right? So agents could be fighting over the same strategy, or agents could be trading with each other. It's pretty simple. Then we can look at things like governance, and yeah, you might have like agent to agent based governance, which is going to be pretty interesting because that's really like building this autonomous economy. Um, and payments as well is a really interesting part of this too. So I invested in a project called Nevermind a couple years ago, and they're building out like payments infrastructure for AIs to pay each other, essentially, AI agents to pay each other for services. So this is something really interesting that we're looking a lot into as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And the vision that comes to my mind whenever you're talking about this is that, like, eventually, and of course, you start with these more localized, specific strategies where that AI agent should optimize yield on this protocol to get you the best risk adjusted yield on your stable coins or something. But then as you expand out, you can have multiple agents doing things for you. And then the vision in my mind is like everyone has their own family office of AI agents working for them on the blockchain. And I think that that's like the futuristic vision that gets people really excited. So that's what comes to my mind, and I think it's just really exciting that you guys are taking the first leap into this because outside of Mode Network, I really haven't seen anyone working towards this vision. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I think that's like the best way to describe it. Like it's very much like as a user, you should have like your setup, your desk is full of like your 5 different agents doing different things, right? You might have a USDC strategy, an ETH strategy, a DeFi, a BTC within DeFi strategy, and yeah, it's interesting like how this is going to evolve. So yeah, I can see like that's definitely the future we're building for, and yeah, it's gonna be super exciting.
Yeah, very cool. Next thing that comes to mind here is you're part of the Superchain, right? You're part of this optimism community. How does this look like? Like, are you building for the whole Superchain? And like, how does the AI roadmap fit into the broader Superchain and how will it benefit other ecosystems, if it will?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've like been thinking about this a lot. Like everything we're doing on Mode, like we're looking at giving like a positive benefit to the super chain. Um, and we contribute sequencer revenue, and we are very much aligned with trying to think about interoperability between super chains. So Optimism has started to release more on interoperability, which is really exciting. And so we're thinking about, okay, we can now have agents based on Mode that can go across different chains like Base, OP mainnet, very easily, and run strategies there. So yeah, this is something we've been thinking about a lot. Right now, I would say we're much more focused on supporting the Mode DeFi ecosystem. We still have a lot of work there to be done. But yeah, we're always looking to contribute to other superchain teams and work closely with other teams. Like the Base team are awesome. They're building loads of cool stuff. Obviously on OP mainnet, there's loads and loads of cool stuff. Also, like we've been speaking a lot with teams like Fraxel. And yeah, we're expecting like the super chain to really have a moment next year when fault proofs start to go live across different super chains. So moving them to become a stage 1 rollup like OP mainnet is now. And interoperability. I think these are going to be like 2 huge catalysts for growth.
Yeah, 100%. I am a big super chain bull just because you have like this fundamental unification, or at least the roadmap with it, with like shared sequencing or however this is going to manifest. But then you also have these kind of independent cultures between the chains. So of course you have Base with like its connection to Coinbase, which is the biggest centralized exchange in America. Obviously they're a powerhouse, but then you have like DeFi focus with you guys, like the Optimism mainnet. So I think like this plurality and then bring it back together is what makes me super bullish. Um, so yeah, that's super cool to me. Any other thoughts that you had about just the AI 5 roadmap or anything else that we didn't ask that you wanted to bring up or mention?
I think we covered most of the key things. I think like we're gonna see like a lot of different types of agent exist. So people might be like trading agent, like agents might exist within a vault standard like ERC 4626. That agent might be able to be traded itself with assets in. I think there's just gonna be loads of innovation. Like we've got a hackathon we're running, an AI-fi hackathon. So yeah, we're talking to a lot of early teams developing like crazy ideas. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be really cool. I'm also excited to like we have one team who's spent a lot of time building out Uni v3 position manager like agent, and I think this is going to be super interesting because they're feeding in so much data now. Even like looking at like gas pricing data, all these different sources of data, which really like you would only have access to if you have like a team of like 5-10 data scientists. And now they're pulling all of that in, and yeah, the average user will be able to use this in the future. So it's very cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think it was, from my perspective, this AI push and kind of this development that you guys are really leading is really where we're going to get the mass adoption, the UX improvements that are needed for users. Because for the longest time, everyone was thinking like, yes, like account abstraction, very useful as well, and I think that's going to form together. But I think this kind of the progression of AI over the last couple of years really opened up this opportunity for crypto to integrate it, and that's really going to be the catalyst that drives the space to the next level in onboarding people, just because it'll be so much more intuitive once these things are integrated. So yeah, no, I'm super excited about that, and that's all the questions that we had. But if there's anything else that you wanted to note about Mode Network, about what you're working on, maybe about, you can talk about the markets. We just got the Fed 50 bips rate cut, so I'm feeling good about that. But any last words from you?
Yeah, I think like the key thing for us as a team is continuing to support DeFi founders as much as possible. We still think that like DeFi applications are gonna, like the front end of DeFi apps is extremely important, especially for power users. I think like AI-fi or AI is like a new interface, and agents as a new interface is gonna very much focus on mass adoption, like the mass market, as you mentioned. So now the key is how do we build those products and how do we make them sexy? Because DeFi, in one sense, it's not meant to be sexy, right? It's finance. It's meant to be trusted. It's meant to be secure. It's meant to be all these like things we associate with like traditional finance and banking, right? But at the same time, like I really feel that DeFi to like get mass adoption needs to become more fun, more interesting. And I really think that on-chain agents, AI agents, will do that for DeFi because yeah, the kind of applications you can build, like the consumer applications, they're kind of endless. And yeah, we really need to get to this point where a user can just deposit $100 into DeFi with Apple Pay. Right now, that's kind of difficult. And we need more like specific integrations, or specific applications which focus on like one or two key integrations and really push that integration or that protocol. So for example, like I'm a big fan of like the Athena application they have. Like at what point will there be an iPhone app for Athena, right? Or an iPhone app that allows you to get Athena yield with Apple Pay and have that like optimized and managed, right? Like someone who's never heard of Pendle before, right? Like Pendle is not not an application for mass adoption, right? But I'm sure a lot of users would be excited to potentially have their yield boosted by using Pendle. So it's this kind of it's these kind of problems we're trying to solve, right? Like things are too complex, things are too difficult. So yeah, this is going to be really cool, and yeah, we've got an application coming out as well, which is going to be focused on a few of these agent-based strategies. So super excited for that to launch.
Yeah, looking forward to watching. And the last thing that I'll mention here, this thought just came to mind, is like DeFi and crypto is really, it's built for AIs. Like it's all code, it's all open, it's all there. The traditional financial world is all contract based, like legal contract based, not smart contracts. So it's hard for them to get integrated there. So as you've been saying this whole time, I think it's a natural fit, and all the pieces really are there. It's an open data system, can interoperate. We're speaking the machine's native language. So overall, I'm super bullish. Excited to see what you guys crank out of this accelerator that you're running, and really excited about all that.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's been really great to chat. Really appreciate all the questions.
Yeah, 100%. Well, any last words from you, the Grand Talkto, since you missed it? But
No, I appreciate you taking over. Literally, my computer just froze, so I apologize for that. But James, thank you so much. Can't wait to see what's next. And I don't know what if Ben said or you've heard our podcast, but we're huge Superchain and Mode fans. So keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Really appreciate having me on.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
See you, James.